Hello pupils, welcome to Social Studies lesson. Today we are going to talk about resources and economic activities, and our subtopic will be irrigation farming in Kenya. But before we start, we are going first of all to review the work that we did last time. We talked about the settlement scheme in Kenya, and so there was examples of the settlement scheme in Kenya. And these one include Lake Kenyatta, Mai Mahiu, Bahati in Nakuru, Gogoni in Malindi, and also Rugari settlement scheme. Then we have Masogareni in Machakos. We have Sotik. Then we have Muiga. And also we discussed about reason for establishment of settlement scheme in Kenya. The reason why they were established, one, it is to settle the landless people. Number two was to reduce the pressure on land which was densely populated. And when talking about densely populated, we know example of Nyandarua, which was a land for Kikuyu, and they were given the 1 million acre scheme and also the Salient scheme. Then we have number three, to speed up land ownership by settling people in places previously not settled in. And we have number four, to increase food production, and in that it was to make land in use. Then we had to improve the living standard of the people. Remember, these people are living in the reserves, and so in these places they were not even farming. So whatever they were doing, they had a lot of poverty. And so the living standard had to improve. Then we also talked about the benefits of the settlement scheme. And this one, the benefit, we started with the first one. Family that was quotas and landless were settled. Remember, when talking about the reserves, the people who are in reserves, now they had land. And so they settled in those schemes. So that one was the benefit of the families. Then we have number two, it led to introduction of cash crops farming and dairy farming in Kenya. Remember, when they were in reserves, they could not cultivate. And so in that one, so they were helping the white people. Then we have number three, the scheme helped in improving living standard of the resettled people. Remember that one we have already discussed in the reasons. So the scheme also helped those people to improve their living standard. Now they could get money after selling their crops. Then we have the national unit was promoted. Remember, we talked about in reserves for the people to be able to buy the land. Whatever the government did, they could buy the land to the Europeans, and after buying the land to the Europeans, they could sell it to the Africans in low amount. So those ones were the ones that we are talking about, the scheme loans. So they could buy the land using the scheme loan. And in that one, they also formed the cooperatives. And in these cooperatives, they could be able to buy land. And remember, these ones were different communities. They were not only the Maasais or the Gikoyus. So they were different communities who could form the cooperative and buy the land. So the national unity was promoted as different communities occupied the same scheme. Then we have the other one, settlement scheme boosted the Kenyan economy as most exports come from Kenya. So when we talk of the settlement scheme boosted the Kenyan economy as most exports come from the scheme. Remember, these people now, they are growing types of crop, and so they could sell it to the government, and the government could export them to different countries. Then we have the scheme is population pressure in densely populated area. Remember, now the people has been removed from the reserves. So what will happen to them? Whatever is going to happen, so now the areas they are not going to be densely populated. And whatever will happen, there will be less people in those areas. Then also we discussed about development of infrastructure were improved, and in this one, the government could construct roads so that at least to get food from the schemes. Then we have the productivity of both subsistence and cash crop. Remember what we said about subsistence crop? These ones are the food that we use it at home. And so the people who are now in the scheme, they could be able now to grow their own crop. And in that one, the productivity increased. Then the last one, we talked about problem facing settlement scheme. And the first one, we talked about land fragmentation. Remember, these people have been removed by the government to go and settle in the schemes. What will happen? Now they are going to share the land into small pieces. And this one, they are going to make these land an economic pieces. Why? Because the land are going to be divided into small pieces. And whatever will happen, these people are not going just to grow one crop. So they are going to grow one crop in a small piece of land. Then we have land ownership disputes. When we talk of land ownership disputes, we discussed about this one, and we say now everybody wants to own his part. And what will happen? Now we'll have people fighting for the land. Then we go to number 3, lack of adequate capital to improve the farming activities. Now remember, these people are working for Europeans. Now they had no capitals, and now they have been settled in the scheme. What will happen? They will have no adequate capital to improve the farming activities. Then also we discussed about the poor transport network, which lead to huge losses as the produce is delayed to get to the market. In this, when talking about the poor transport network, remember, you have to wait for the government now to construct the roads. And this one, it has to take more time. So they had poor transport. Then also another inter-ethnic conflict due to land ownership. Yes, we discussed about the cooperatives. And in these cooperatives, now we have different communities. What will happen? They will now start having inter-ethnic conflict so that everybody at least can get his or her own land. Then also we discussed about non-commitment by the government to buy the farmers' produce, resulting in losses. When we talk of non-commitment, in this one, remember, now the government, the people from the scheme are waiting for the government to buy the crops or the food. But now the government has to delay. And in this delayment, whatever will happen, they are going to have so much losses. Now we go to the work of today. Irrigation farming in Kenya. When we talk of irrigation, irrigation is the artificial application of water to the crop in area that receive less rainfall to facilitate their growth. I repeat once again. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to the crop in areas that receive less rainfall to facilitate their growth. So, less than 1/4 of Kenya's land is suitable for arable farming. The rest of the country is dry, hence suitable for livestock farming. Some areas contain fertile soil but lack adequate rainfall to allow arable farming to be carried out. Water from nearby rivers, boreholes, and also wells is directed to the farms to grow crop through a process called irrigation. Irrigation farming has been practiced by people for a long time, but on a small scale where watering can and sprinklers are used in homes to water vegetable gardens, flowers, and coffee farms. So in short, that one at least I summarize. So in Kenya, irrigation farming is carried in some areas. Why do irrigation carried? The irrigation is carried due to lack of enough rainfall. And in those areas where we don't have enough rainfall, we have fertile soil. It enables the people in those areas to be self-sufficient in food supply. Then we go to crop grown in irrigation scheme. Which are these crops grown in irrigation scheme? We are going to start with Mwatebere irrigation scheme. So Mwatebere irrigation scheme is the oldest scheme in the country. It was started in 1954. So Mwatebere irrigation scheme was started in 1954 by the Europeans with a name of settling the land race. So the Mwatebere irrigation scheme was started by the Europeans, especially those who lost their land during the state of emergency. And this Mwatebere irrigation scheme, it is located Mwatebere irrigation scheme is located in Kirinyaga County. The irrigation scheme gets its water from River Dhiba and also River Nyamidi, which are tributaries of River Tana. So we have the rivers where Mwatebere irrigation scheme gets their water. So they get their water in River Dhiba, as they get their water in River Dhiba and Nyamidi, which are tributaries of River Tana. They are the tributaries of River Tana. And the main crop grown is rice, which is cultivated on small scale. The rice plot of rice paddies are irrigated using the basin or the flood irrigation method. So in this one, Mwatebere irrigation scheme, we have seen they grow rice, and whatever they, after growing there, they use the rice paddies. They use the rice paddies as are irrigated using the basin. So whatever they use there, they use the basin irrigation and also flood irrigation or flood irrigation. The other crop grown in Mwa irrigation scheme include vegetables, tomatoes, maize, and also potatoes. Most of the work is done by human labor. I'm going to repeat about crop grown in irrigation scheme, which is Mwatebere. We have said Mwatebere irrigation scheme started in 1954, and we have said it is the oldest scheme, and we have said it is located in Kirinyaga County, and it gets its water from these two rivers, which is River Dhiba and also River Nyamidi. And these ones are tributaries of River Tana. Then we have this rice is grown in the small scale. So the farmers, they are small scale farmers. And in that one, in these paddies, whatever kind of irrigation they use the basin or flood irrigation. Now we go to the problem which is faced in Mwatebere irrigation scheme. the problem facing Mwatebere irrigation scheme. So we start with the first one, pests and diseases. So we have the first one, which is pests and diseases, which reduce crop production. Then we have number 2, low prices of the produce. So we have number 2, low prices of the produce. And then we go to number 3, shortage of water, especially during the dry period. Shortage of water, especially during the dry season. And in this one, we talked about River Dhiba and also River Nyabidi. They are the one who supply water to the crops. And whatever will happen in that at that time when it is dry, the amount of water is going to lower. And after lowering, whatever will happen, now these rivers are not going to have more water. So we'll have the shortage of water. Then we go to number 3, delay payment after the farmers deliver their produce to the board. So we have delayed payment. Yes, delayed payment after the farmer has delivered their crop to the board. What will happen in that one? Now they have already produced their crop. And what will happen after now giving their crop to their produce to the board? Whatever will happen now, the board are going to delay in paying them. So the reason we are saying delayed payment after the farmers deliver their produce. Then lastly, we talk of siltation of the canals. Yes, we have that one, siltation of the canals, which causes them to block. And this one, when unblocking them through the dredging, is a very expensive exercise. So they are going now to use a lot of money in now unblocking those canals. I repeat once again the problem facing Mwatebere irrigation scheme. The first one, pests and diseases. Then number 2, we have low prices of the produce. Remember now, after now the crop has been faded by the pest and also diseases, whatever will happen, they will have low quality of their produce. And in that one, they are going to get low prices of the produce. Then number 3, shortage of water. And that one we had already discussed. Then delayed payment after the farmers has delivered their crop. Then lastly, we have the siltation of the canals. And this one, unblocking them is very expensive exercise. Now we go to the benefits of Mwatebere irrigation. Benefits of Mwatebere irrigation. We talked of the first one, largest people have been settled in. We have number 1, landless people have been settled, and in this one, remember now people have been settled. They have been removed from the reserves and now they are in the schemes. Then we have number 2, it has led to increased food production. So we have number 2, it has led to increased food production. Remember, these people in the scheme are now supplying food, or they are supplying their produce. And now what will happen? There will be increase of food production. Then we go to number 3, it is a source of income to the farmers. So, source of income to the farmers. Remember now, after selling their produce, what will happen? Now they are going to get money, and that one will be source of so many farmers. It has provided employment to many people. Remember, these people in those lands or in the schemes, they need people to cultivate. And this one, they are going to employ many people. So in that one, it has provided employment to many people. And lastly, it has encouraged the development of towns like Wanguru. So we have development of towns like Wanguru. So those ones are the benefit of Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme. I repeat once again. Number 1, landless people have been settled in. So we have in this one, the people who had no land, now they have already been settled in this settlement scheme. Number 2, food production. In this one, now many people now are growing their crops, and what will happen? They will have more produce. So now food production supply will increase. Then we have number 3, source of income. Many people now, they are getting the money from the growing of rice. And what will happen now? Now people are going to get money after selling their produce, which is rice. Then we have number 3, it has led to employment. Now they are going to employ so many people in their land, and in that one, it will lead to people who are jobless to get jobs. Then we have number 5, development of towns like Wanguru. Yes, Wanguru started because of the irrigation scheme, and in that one now the development is going now to take place because many people are going to come to settle and also to start their business in those towns. Then now we go to Pequera irrigation scheme. We have Pequera irrigation scheme, and Pequera scheme is found in Barigo County. Water from River Pequera is used for irrigation farming is done on small scale. So they get the water from River Pequera. So the irrigation gets its water from River Pequera, and this one is used for irrigation. And the crops that are grown there include onions, maize seed, watermelons, chilies, tomatoes, and also pawpaws. So those ones are the type of crop that are grown in Pequera irrigation scheme. I repeat once again, we have onions, seed maize, watermelons, chilies, tomatoes, and also the pawpaws. And that's all about Pequera irrigation scheme. So we have said Pequera irrigation scheme started, or it is found in Barigo County, a place known as Marigati. So it is known as Marigati in Barigo County. So in this one, the data is located in 1,400 hectares. That is 1,400 hectares. It has 495 farmers who are tenants of the scheme. And in this one, the land is owned by the National Irrigation Board. The board has given the farmers 3 to 4 acres, each on which to grow crops. And the farmers pay for hiring of the plots. So these ones are not given to the farmers. So the farmers must hire the plots. Water to the scheme flow by the gravity from River Pequera. So that one we have said they get their water from River Pequera, and which flow nearby. From the rivers, the water flows into the plots through canals. When the scheme was started, the main crop that was grown are chilies and also the onions. So they started by growing the chilies and also the onions. After some times, they started now growing watermelons and also the pawpaws. And also after now staying for a period, they started now growing cotton, which later they abandoned due to non-payment. So they abandoned the cotton due to non-payment. And now the main crop which is grown there is the seed maize. The farmers contract by the Kenya Seed Company and are being paid handsomely for the crop. So now after growing now seed maize, they sell it to Kenya Seed Company, and after selling to the seed company, the Kenya Seed Company, they are paid with good amount of money. And so the reason they had abandoned the other crops. So we have this has made majority of the farmers to reduce the area occupied by the other crops. So the reason we have said the main crop which is grown there is the seed maize. And why do they grow the seed maize? They grow the seed maize because they sell it to Kenya Seed Company. And this one, remember, they are contracted by the Kenya Seed Company. And in that one, the Kenya Seed Company pay them good money, or we can talk of they pay them handsomely. The farmer have formed a cooperative society through which they sell their farm harvest. The cooperative part, the produce are looked for the market. The farmers are paid after the product have been sold. So I'm going to repeat once again about Pequera irrigation scheme. Pequera irrigation scheme, we have said it started in Marigati district, and in this one it is in Barigo County, and they get the water from River Pequera. And the crops that they started growing was chilies and also the onions. Later, they started growing watermelons, and also the pawpaws. After that, they grew cotton, which later they abandoned due to lack of good payment. And the crop that is grown there is the seed maize. And in this one, the seed maize, they sell it to Kenya Seed Company, which they sell it and they buy it for good money. So that one is the one that we have talked about, the hard summary payment. Then also the farmers have formed the cooperative, and in this one cooperative, they sell their farm harvest. And we are through with Pequera irrigation scheme. But before we end up, we have the irrigation that they use there. Remember we talked about the Mwea Tebere irrigation, and we said they use the basin or flood irrigation, but in this one, they use the fallow irrigation. So in Pequera irrigation scheme, they use the fallow irrigation scheme. And now we go to the benefits. The benefit of Pequera irrigation. The first one, it has led to increased food production. So benefits of irrigation scheme. Benefits of Pequera irrigation scheme. The first one, it has led to increased food production. So we have food production. Number two, development of infrastructure. Development of infrastructure. Then we have number three, employment. Then number four, provided raw material. So they provide raw material. Those ones are the benefits of Pequera irrigation scheme. We have the first one, food, it increased food production. Then we have number two, development of infrastructure. Number three, it has led to employment of many people. Then we have number four, it has provided raw material for industries. Now, Lana, I want us to review whatever you have learned today by doing an activity. So the first question will be the problem faced by Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme. Problem facing Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme. Lana, I know now you have already answered. We have the problem facing Mwea Tebere irrigation scheme, and we started with the first one, pests and diseases. Then we have number two, low prices of the produce. Then we have number three, shortage of water. Then we have number four, delayed payment after the farmers deliver their crops. Then lastly, we have talked about siltation of the canals. Then the second question, the benefits of Pequera irrigation scheme. Benefits of Pequera irrigation scheme. Rana, I know you have already answered. The benefits of Pequera irrigation scheme, we have already gone through them. We started with the first one. It has increased food production. Then we have number two, development of infrastructure. And then we have number three, it has led to employment of so many people. Then number four, provide raw material for the industries. And that one marks the end of our social study lesson. Till next time, goodbye.